That stunning New York Times investigation implicating President Trump and his family in questionable tax schemes is raising even more questions about his sister. Marianne Trump Barry is a senior judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals in Philadelphia. She does not actively hear cases anymore. The Times report describes Barry as present during 2003 meetings at Trump Tower, quote, for one of their periodic updates on their inherited empire with the siblings and Alan Weisselberg, the Trump Organization's CFO. Do not forget, Weisselberg was recently granted immunity by federal authorities investigating Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen. Now back to the president's sister. The Times investigation alleges she offered legal advice to her father. And according to the Code of Conduct for federal judges, quote, a judge should not practice law and should not serve as a family member's lawyer in any forum. A judge may, however, without compensation, give legal advice to a member of the judge's family. So the key question is, did Barry receive compensation in exchange for her legal advice? Joining me now, CNBC contributor and chief economic correspondent for Politico, Ben White, and Tim O'Brien, an MSNBC contributor and executive editor of Bloomberg Opinion, and a man who was named in this article. And a quick shout out, Tony Schwartz said on Twitter last night he's stunned and disappointed that more journalists aren't focused on this story. Turn up the volume. Tune in, Mr. Schwartz. We're covering it. Tim, first of all, President Trump's sister, why don't you walk us through how she became a judge?
Right. So this is the long arm and long shadow of Roy Cohn. When Marianne Trump Barry wanted to get a position on the federal court, the Trumps looked to Roy Cohn, who had a very close relationship at the time with Ronald Reagan, and got her the president's attention. And that's how she got the appointment. So it's one more reason why the Trump family feels so beholden to Roy Cohn. The issue of Marianne Trump Barry giving legal advice to Fred Trump.
Wait, so her name is Marianne Barry?
Marianne, not Marianne.
I'm like,
Marianne.
what? Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah. She actually did well by her father. Let's recall in this article why she gave her father advice. Donald Trump had attached a codicil to Fred Trump's will as Fred Trump was slipping into Alzheimer's that would have given Donald control of the family estate. And
So his father's,
at the end of his life, he's starting to lose it a little bit. And he eventually went full bore dementia.
And Trump tries to gut the will to screw his brothers and sisters?
And his father, okay? So remember that this is yet another example of how Donald Trump rolls. Fred Trump is still alert enough when he sees this codicil put in front of him to say, this doesn't look right to me, and I actually don't trust the fact that Donald is doing the right thing here. So he goes to Marianne. And he said, does this look good to you? She said, of course it doesn't look good to me. She told him to get another estate lawyer. They vetted it, and they redrafted the will and got rid of that codicil. She did, when fathers are in trouble, they should go to their daughters, not their sons. That's what he did here.
Well, don't go to your son if your son is Donald Trump. Stunning, because if you recall, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who said this story was boring, I beg to differ. As far as tax stories go, it's riveting. The whole point she made was that Fred Trump had so much confidence and faith in his son. Baloney, his son was trying to gut this thing. Ben, you point out one angle that you think the Trumps could end up owing the tax man $400 million.
Yeah,
it's a big nut.
It's a big nut. It's quite possible. I mean, I think the legal criminal liability is probably run because of the statute of limitations, but the state of New York can still look at what they paid on the estate, how they valued the estate as it was passed down, the undervaluing of assets, all of these various tax dodges, and say, look, at the time you paid way too little. There's $200 million owed plus penalties and interest. They could certainly attempt to recoup that money. It would take a long time and a lot of discovery and all these other things, but that's a huge amount of money, that big check that Trump might have to write. And he is, in fact, most liable because he was the one signing off on a lot of these documents and was the executor of the estate. So he could be on the hook for a huge amount of money.
And Tim O'Brien, you know firsthand President Trump, he doesn't like discovery. Tim, you pointed out that the biggest standout in this article was a company called All County Building Supply and Maintenance. Why is this such a big deal?
This oddly named little company was used by the Trump family to handle paperwork associated with purchases for their buildings. And in short, what they did is they added markups for their expenses. And they did that so they would have to pay less in income taxes on the money that their properties were earning. And the differential between what they actually paid for equipment and other things for their buildings and other properties, and the markup went into the children's pockets. And this is not a new phenomenon for that family. Fred Trump spent decades as a builder overbilling the federal government for federally subsidized housing he was building. He got hauled in.
Overbilling the federal government for housing units that oftentimes low and middle income people live in.
Well, in fact, they were subsidized by the federal government in order to make them affordable for low and middle income renters. And Trump was bilking the very program that helped make him a billionaire.
Yeah, and also according to that article, using those inflated costs, those inflated payments for maintenance on the buildings to raise rents on rent-stabilized people. So essentially saying that we're actually paying all this extra money when it's going into the pockets of the kids, using that as an excuse to raise people's rent.
It's so expensive, let us hike
This
rent.
is truly sick. Sick. But what comes of it?
I don't think he's going to have any criminal liability.
No.
On whatever damages they impose on him financially for the civil, there's going to be a real problem with them building a fact pattern against Trump's lawyers that will allow them to do that.
And is Kellyanne Conway right? She looked at the camera and said, "Don't you know Trump always gets the last laugh?"
I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
Yeah, I don't know. I think,
Here's
she's
Here's what it's supposed to
speaking
mean.
to an audience of
he
one.
still lives in the White House.
That's and she's speaking
Rent free, just like he likes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. I mean, maybe he gets the last laugh. I don't know. But if people decide over the longer term that this guy's entire backstory, his entire history is a complete fabrication, he's a fabulist and a carnival barker, and his history is fake, maybe that matters in 2020 to independent voters who say, I kind of like this guy as a businessman. Maybe he was kind of a crap businessman and a shyster.
And he's not going to be laughing if his tax returns become public.
That's true.
Or maybe it's just like what happened at the UN last week, Kellyanne. They're not laughing with him. We're laughing at him.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.